Hey there YouTube, Logan with Hideaway Homestead here, coming to you today with a video on moving trees. Buckle up, this one's probably going to be a little bit of a long video, but the reason being is because I'm going to be talking about all the what ifs when it comes to moving trees, because there's a lot of people that have the question, can I move a tree, when can I move a tree, and all of those questions have a big it depends on it. We're going to start by talking about this tree that I've got right here. This is a poplar that I have just pollarded yesterday because I was taking some cuttings to sell, and you can see that this is a fairly large tree. I mean, I can't get my hand all the way around it. It's about close to the same size as my forearm, especially down at the base. It's really wide, but it's about a 4-year-old tree, so you can see that the bottom of the trunk is getting close to like 5 inches, but it's more up here around like 4 inches, 3 inches or so in diameter. And so that it just shows you kind of the growth. This tree right here had some mulch put on it, but it has not had any irrigation, nothing special. If you've got them and you plant them and really plan for them, you can get a lot bigger than this in 4 years. But this tree was, somewhere around like 25 foot tall, because I had pollarded it before, about like a couple of years ago. And so now I'm starting to try to put a little bit of scaffolding on it to allow more room for, little branches. I'm wanting to get like just basically a broom of little shoots coming up off of this, and this is, they'll look like a broom because this will be the broomstick, and this will be all the little shoots to make cuttings out of. But let's say we wanted to move this tree. This is a job and a half. For one, with the tree being this well established, I'm probably going to want to come out around 2 to 3 feet from the trunk and start digging. Now, time to start talking about a lot of the it depends. Let's talk about first just transplanting in general. So you've got a lot of people that's how they do their gardens. They start seeds in pots and they transplant them out into the ground. Me with my trees, I start all my trees that I've got right now with cuttings, and I put them in the ground. I let them grow a little bit, for like a season, and then I dig them up and move them to a permanent spot, or I sell them. I normally don't let them get bigger than like a year old. I've got a picture, I'm putting it in the thumbnail, so it'll be the thumbnail for this video. That tree is only 9 months old that I'm holding in the picture, and it had some irrigation and stuff, so it was that's the reason that it had such a huge root system. But that tree only being 9 months old, that gives you an idea of how much root they can put down. Let's talk about that it depends. Really what you want to do is you want to move in the dormant season. That's rule number one. Anytime you're going to move a tree, no matter what, the one thing that's never going to depend on any other factors, like any variables, is moving them during the winter. That's when you want to move them. Preferably when the soil is nice and soft, which a lot of times around here it is in the winter because we get a lot of rain. So you're going to want to get your tree, dig it up during the dormant season, because transplanting is very unnatural. Never does it happen in nature. I guess I shouldn't say never. Sure, you could say mudslides or some other stuff like that might be a situation in which you would have a tree get transplanted, or a plant. But it's not a very natural thing. So you want to do it while the tree's asleep. Just like if you think about like pruning and anything else, if you're going to have surgery done, you want to have it when you're put under. So the trees are asleep, the sap flows slowly and is stored in the roots during the dormant season. So best time to do it during the winter. I'm not saying you can't do it other times of the year, but your success rate is going to be a whole lot lower of that tree surviving. Let's talk about different types of trees here. So I'm going to walk over here where I've got some of my trees healed in, and we can talk about like the different species. I'm going to cover conifers first because I don't have any conifers here. But the conifers, they're gonna be dormant in the winter too, somewhat. I mean, they're still gonna produce needles, you know, and you're still gonna see them all green, but they're not doing a whole lot of growing and the sap's not flowing as much. So during the winter with a conifer too, you'd want to, and conifer just means a tree, you know, that stays green all year long. So you want to move them in the winter too. But with these trees, for example, I've got, you know, my hybrid willows here. I've got some hybrid poplars over there, and I've got some mulberry in there too, it looks like, mixed in. Yep, got some mulberry. Those are all going to be stool layered, and more hybrid willow. And I should somewhere around here, oh yeah, here they are. So I've got some pecans in here too. Now the thing about these pecans is I'm just testing them out for transplanting, because these were not grown in air prune boxes. Now, air prune boxes is just a little box that you build to put dirt in, and then on the bottom it has mesh wire, so that way when that seed sprouts and sends down that taproot, it will lightly air prune it, just meaning that the taproot will die once it hits the air, and then it'll send out a more bushy root ball around that taproot, rather than having just a taproot that goes straight down. Because most of your taprooted species will grow an extremely long, strong taproot in their first few years. And they put a lot of energy into that taproot, because it's going to be the thing that helps hold them in the ground and also keeps them healthy through droughts. So, you know, with your taprooted species, you want to make sure that you know, you're growing them in air prune boxes. Or I've seen people move little pecans. Of course, they have to break the taproot, and the tree a lot of times does survive. It can die though. So if you've got a tree that's kind of larger, that's, you know, a taprooted species, something like a pecan, or that is, if it's grown from seed and not in an air prune box, you can you know, move them. But if you got a taproot on them, you may want to rethink that. Some other species, like, now if you're getting grafted varieties, like say you planted an apple, they're on rootstock, so you're not going to have a really big taproot on them, or really no taproot at all, because they're all stool layered for the most part. And that just means that they've taken a tree, laid it on its side, and allowed little shoots to grow up, and all those shoots root. So you've got your grafted varieties should be fine to move. I think really after about 3 or 4 years, that tree is going to be very difficult to move. Not to say that it can't be done. But yeah, if it's a taprooted species, just know there's a chance that tree may not make it. And depending on the species, there's probably a very good chance it's not going to make it if you break that taproot. There are other trees that are pretty easy to move, like the poplar, like the willow, like the grafted varieties. A lot of your invasives are pretty easy. One of them that has a taproot that I've moved a lot that does just fine is your mimosa trees. Mimosa trees around here, I've moved them, and you know, because I was using them for fodder there for a while, and they did fine. So it all kind of depends on the species of tree. If you're moving an oak, it might have a lower chance of success. A lot of hickories, pecan being a hickory, but being just a little bit more resilient, it seems like some of your hickories might not make it. Your walnuts that have a taproot, so just be aware of that. Okay, so really do it during the winter time. Do it to any tree really under 4 years old. You can do it with bigger ones. Just realize this is going to be a job, because what you're going to want to do is you want to get as many roots as you possibly can. You're not going to get them all, never, unless you get out there with an excavator, dig all the way out from around the tree, and get people out there with little brushes to brush off the dirt off all the roots. That's the only way you're going to get all the roots. You're going to root prune these trees by default by digging them up. But go out, you know, 2-3 feet from around the tree, depending on how big the tree is. Dig it up during the dormant season. If you're in the southeast, now is the time. Like, you don't have much time left. And if you're, you know, further up north, you might have a little bit more time on moving the trees. If not, you might need to wait until next winter, just because that sap's going to start flowing. It's going to be a little difficult on the trees. So you want to make sure you get all the roots, as many as you can, and you want to move that tree fast. You want to have the hole that you're going to put it in mostly already dug. Dig it a little bit bigger than what you think you're going to need. Probably a lot of times, if you measure out like you're going to come out 3 foot from the trunk, that means a 6 foot hole. But that's on bigger trees. Some of your smaller trees, you can do it a little bit smaller. Maybe 2 foot, so that's a 4 foot wide or a 4 foot diameter hole. And dig it a lot deeper than you think. And you dig up the tree and put it in the hole. If you're dealing with something like, hey, it was just last season that I planted this apple and it hasn't grown much at all, a lot of times they're gonna have, just a slightly larger root ball than what you got them if you got them in a bag or a pot. So you could go just a foot out around them. But if you've got any questions about moving trees, and it's more specific, just transplanting, you can email me with a photo at hideawayhomestead@gmail.com, and I can try to answer the question for you better, more specific to your situation. But you want to get those roots transferred as quickly as possible. Water it in well. Make sure you watch it that first year. This is all just stuff to make sure that you have the most successful transplant that you possibly can. Trees are pretty resilient. I'm not saying all this just to scare people into thinking that you're going to kill your tree if you move it, because you're not, and everything will probably be fine even if you miss a few of these steps. But just be aware that the more care you take, the more successful that transplant is going to be. So I hope that helps anybody who's thinking of transplanting trees, or if you're planting a tree. As far as fruit trees and everything, a lot of them are out in the box stores and everything right now. So digging a big hole and making sure you set that tree up for success. I know with a lot of people, they buy really expensive trees, and that's great and everything, but I'd rather have instead of a $100 tree in a 10-cent hole, I'd rather have a 10-cent tree in a $100 hole. So really focus on making sure that you're setting that tree up for success. Like I said, if anybody's got any questions, you can email me or just drop it down below in the comments. If you got any questions, but if you guys send pictures or something like that, you can do it through the email. But yeah, if you've got any questions or comments, drop them down below. If the video was helpful in any way, please leave a like. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do so. I drop a video like this mostly every day. I appreciate all y'all watching, and we'll see you in the next one.